Alright, so today I'm going to be showing you guys behind the scenes for how we made this pepper tea. And yes, this is up on the website, which will be linked in the description down below if you do want to go buy it, or if you want to go support us and follow us on Instagram, that'll be linked in the description as well. So although I've been reselling, reviewing, rating, and interviewing clothing and clothing brands for like the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of this stuff is still very new to me, the production aspect or side of things for streetwear. And a big reason behind that is because I didn't start actually making clothes until 3 months ago, I think it is at this point. But yeah, this shirt was a huge step up in difficulty. It was a big hurdle just to get made compared to a lot of the other stuff we've done. And you know, it would have been a lot simpler, but we would have had to spend a lot more money to have it completely outsourced and had the manufacturer, the screen printer, I guess, manufacturer, producer, I'm not sure. I'm still working on the terminology myself. So the main difficulty behind this design, as opposed to some of our previous designs like this one, the Frown logo t-shirts, which were actually the ones we started off with, were the number of colors behind it. So since we wanted to get it screen printed, we got that one screen printed. We also got this pepper tea screen printed. You can tell this one has more colors. I think this one is a 4-color. You got white, yellow, purple, and then there's actually a navy outline, which I wanted the navy outline. I'm happy it's there. It kind of connects everything instead of having just like a blank space there. But yeah, the difference, you know, 4 colors on this one, only 1 color on the other one. Having a 1-color design is a lot more simple to get made, especially when you're doing screen printing, because how screen printing works is they take a screen for every individual color. They'll put that down on the t-shirt, take the ink, like squeegee it on, and then rotate it to the next color. So the difficulty there with this design comes from how we received it from our graphic designer, which I can't knock her for making it like that or sending it to us like that. But unfortunately, she sent it to us as all one layer, and we had to get split up before we sent it to the actual screen printer to get made, because they would have charged a bunch to do the color separation. So that was the main issue that we faced, having to actually go into there and separate all the paths into different layers, because when the design gets made, it's, you know, drawn and all the paths are recorded, but since it was all in one layer, just squished, they're just on top of each other. We had to go in there, separate all that. Had to clean up a couple different things too, like the F I made a little bit sharper to my liking, rounded off some edges that I thought were a little too sharp. But yeah, we had to learn how to use all these different tools on Inkscape, which is really good to know now, because now we've been going in and digitizing a lot of our like more simple designs and messing around with ways to make those ourselves instead of having to commission somebody to do an artwork that is a lot more on the simple side of things. Yo.
Yo, you trying to catch a dub?
Give me 10 minutes. I'm recording the video.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Alright. Alright. See you in 10.
So that's the path of the design and the main hurdle that we had to deal with, the whole splitting it up and then sending it to the screen printer to get made. And you guys have obviously seen the finished product, but what did we start with? So everything that I come up with, usually, unless it's based off of, well, I guess this is based off a logo, so I shouldn't say that, but unless we're based like directly off of an existing idea, like maybe a font that we want to use and just rework to have our brand name instead of whatever it's already saying, most of the stuff that we come up with, I come up with, is going to be sketched out first. And that's exactly how this design started. The pepper tea, the pepper design, the pepper logo, obviously a reference to the Morton Salt Girl, but it started off like this. And like I said, this was one that we actually commissioned out to have a graphic designer do for us. So that's why we have all the notes around it. You can see we got like the F and the teardrop, and there's even one that didn't make it. If you guys, you know, paid attention to the actual graphic before, the socks are no longer, you know, striped on the final product. We lost the stripes just because, you know, throughout the process of looking at the work in progress and seeing it, I was like, the stripes actually don't really work. The detailing is just kind of strange to include them. So we chopped that off. But yeah, if I'm gonna be making a design and having somebody else take care of the like graphic designing part of it, the digitizing part of it, I'm gonna be putting notes on it just so I make sure they don't miss these things. And you know, even maybe if I return to it in the future, I want to make sure that I have like those ideas. Those are the important ideas that I had that I'm leaving a note for. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably thinking this sketch is terrible. I really do, like, you know, I'm waiting to see some of your other designs that you're doing on your own, because this is really bad. But this is just that this was the first draft, or I guess like the only draft of the sketch, since I knew I was going to be having my friend do it, the graphic designer. I knew I was going to be sending it off to her. I just drew it up quick and sent it to her as an idea and told her, you know, we want this boy like in like a, I forget what era it was, like a 50s style outfit, have the inverted umbrella. You know, you guys saw all the notes, so that was just kind of the base for her to go wild with, like follow that kind of pose, just general guidelines for her to follow. But for a lot of the other ones I'm doing, I'll make this sketch a lot more neat, a lot more close to the final product or the finished product that I want it to be, and then just go and digitize where I can draw over the lines on the computer and create those lines digitally into vector files. So like I said, after a lot of back and forth with the graphic designer for small changes we wanted to make, things like the socks, we actually got the final product. We got it in the vector form. Like I said before, unfortunately it was all one layer and we had to go in and separate things. So now I'm gonna move over to screen recording. I'm gonna show you guys kind of what we had to go through and what it looks like on Inkscape to deal with actually separating each one of those colors into the different layers. So enjoy. All right, so here we are at Inkscape. We got the design up. We also have this layers window that you can see with all the different colors that make up the design, as well as this can merge with white if needed, which I'll explain what that is in a little bit. But yeah, if you grab this selection, you can see all these different pieces. You know, the whole color is set up with itself. So you try to grab the navy, since it's all one object, except for, you know, some of the stuff on the face and then some of the buttons. The whole thing's gonna move. So if you go and you look at these individual layers, say we take yellow, we turn this off, all the yellow disappears. It's because we moved it all to its own layer. Like it says, you know, yellow, we got purple right here, navy. So the difference between this white and the can merge with white if needed is the can merge with white if needed is the base white. So the layer underneath everything, because since we printed this on a navy shirt, it doesn't show up that great if you put like a light color on top of it. So you need a white base layer to print that, say, yellow on top of, so it turns out, you know, more yellow than a dark color, since, you know, yellow on top of navy. So that's what this white was, and then the other white one is just everything outside of that. So you can see we mute this layer or we hide this layer, and with all the other colors present, there's no difference. But, you know, this one is under everything else. So moving forward, how did we get this stuff separated? Well, we had to use this tool. After we made a new layer, you can go in and select the different colors. So we'd go in and select something like this. So once you have this selected, you can right click and then you can choose move to layer. I'm not sure if you guys can see the window that pops up, but trust me, it says move to layer. And then once you click that, you'll get all the options for the existing layers. So we had to go through, select every single one of these portions that pops up with yellow, send that all to the yellow layer, and then go through and add all the portions that pop up in the other layers. And, you know, like I mentioned before, another thing that we did was clean up the lines on some of the stuff, like the F right here. So if you do have something that you want to make an adjustment on, you have all these different nodes, and if you actually double click in between the nodes, you can create a new one that lets you distort things. And then you have these, which are like kind of the angles of what follows after it, so we can distort that as well. But it's at the point that I'm happy with right now, so we don't need to make any changes with that. Another thing that changed from one of the earlier versions was the salt. So the salt originally had outlines, and you can actually see the paths that pop up that, you know, there's a selection right here. Let me grab this and I can actually move it apart. So, you know, each circle has a bunch of different circles that make it up. So originally, you know, obviously it had an outline and then the inside was white, but I thought it was too small. I wasn't happy with how it looked. So I changed the color of it, which you can do by going like this. Let me try, do like a big selection. I think you can do that and then change the color of everything in the selection. So say we wanted green salt, we could have swapped it to that. All right, so the last thing, and probably the biggest pain out of all this, was separating the rain, because the rain of the one that we got that we had to swap was actually all navy. because this was done for, we got the artwork in 2 different color versions. We got one that would go against a white background and then one that would go against a navy background. And the navy background one had some issues with it, where the one going against the white background was just the easier one to manipulate. But since, you know, we don't want white rain and white salt against the white background, so it just wouldn't show up, we had to work with the white background one. And, you know, white background one had the navy rain, which connected to the umbrella. So originally this navy layer right here that I'm moving around had the rain attached to it. But you see I can move this, and then we have the little path that separates all the rain right here. So I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but the way that I did it was I went in and I erased everything on that layer. So I'd go in, take the eraser, and create this separation. Yeah, it's a little wonky right now because of how the layers are selected, but anyway, you can see I'd erase this. Obviously it was a lot more detailed. I'd zoom in way further to get it as close as possible, and then this would create a separation between that path. So that separation allowed me to then select this path, since it was no longer connected to the path of the umbrella, and I could send that to the certain like rain layer or the white layer, and then change everything on that layer to the white color instead of the navy. And I had to do this for every single one of these raindrops. So yeah, this was a big pain to get done and a huge learning curve, since I pretty much had no experience in Inkscape leading up to this, and we were rushing to get everything done by the release date. Because we had this scheduled a long time in advance and we didn't foresee a lot of the issues that came up, like having to separate this, and you know, we obviously wanted to do it on our own, like we said, so we could save some money. But yeah, it turned out to be one of my favorite designs thus far. I'm really happy with it, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So that's the process of what we had to go through on Inkscape to get it done. So after all that hard work, we were able to send that file over to the screen printer, tell them we wanted it screen printed. They had all the layers where they could separate everything. And then I think like a week later, we got these bad boys, and I'm so happy with how these turned out. I think they turned out so great. Like, I don't know, I love it. Maybe it's just all the work that went into this, like the learning curve that we had going into it. So I really like that. And then after that, of course, put the Facade patch on the sleeve, which I think goes well. I like it. And if you guys like it, it's up on the website. Don't be shy, go cop one. $5 shipping, don't be too intimidated. As always, thank you for watching. I don't really have anything else for you, and I will see you in the next video.